of all the things that we learn, or as we learn the things we learn, one of the great tragedies we can actually have is to have the our learning to resort to knowledge alone. So our learning should not be just to have knowledge or to increase knowledge or to have more vocabulary as it may be, but that our learning should essentially lead to action. That is, if you learn to do something, then you do it. So if you learn to paint, you don't just stay with that and then you're able to tell people, oh, it's good to paint, this is how to paint, we paint here, we paint there. No. I haven't learned how to paint, then you paint. I haven't learned how to be a good person, then you be a good person. I haven't learned to teach others, then you teach others. So, I've been checking some documentaries recently, and I've been seeing the major difference between people who have results, who have evidence to show in their life, and those who don't. To a large extent, I've discovered that it's not even the knowledge as we have always assumed it to be. Does it mean there are things? Does it mean that there are not things that those people know that these other people don't know? No, of course there are a lot of difference in their knowledge, but a major factor is the ability to actually do. The ability to do. That is, you've learned how to trade, then you trade. Because one bitter truth remains that there are certain things you really cannot learn except from experience. There are certain things you cannot do if you haven't put your hands on those things that you want to do, to practice, to see how it works, right? So, I am bringing to us this morning to say that as we go on in life, as we go through life, as we begin to learn all of those things that we're supposed to learn or that we'll be learning, it's very essential that we don't just learn them for the sake of having the knowledge. We should learn them to increase in action, to improve in action, in fact, to practice and to do until we totally and entirely become. So, you have seen some people who know, okay, let me just give this scenario. When we're in school, basically all of us know that we need to read to pass, right? We know it. So that has become a common knowledge for everybody, that for us to pass well, we need to read. But those of us who almost fail in school, and those who pass very well in school, what's the difference? The difference is not that they know more than we do as far as knowing what to do is concerned. But the difference between us and those who came out very fine is the fact that they know they were supposed to read and they dedicated time to read. And in other cases where some people pass through other means, either through bribe, through every other form that they use, the truth is also that we are also not aware of those things. But the truth remains that we refused to do. And so, if you're going to do business, you are not going to thrive on your knowledge. You are going to thrive in your doing. Even teachers, don't thrive on the knowledge of what they know as it is, but they thrive on the doing that they put to the knowledge that they have. So if you're a good teacher and you refuse to actually teach anybody, you refuse to set up that school, you refuse to hold up that classes, you refuse to call people to come and learn from you, you refuse to put yourself out there to let people know that you teach, and you teach by example, people will just know that you know. And that's why I'm pushing to us now, not assuming that we all know what we are supposed to do, not assuming that we know as we should know regarding the things we are supposed to do. And that's why I'm saying this morning, with all the knowledge that we have, with all the books we have read and that we are reading, with all the movies we have seen, with all the documentary we have seen, I'm calling us to come to a point where we don't just accumulate knowledge, to come to a place where we begin to do, to practice, to execute, such that we don't allow situation to push us to a point where we only get by. In fact, a worst case is when somebody who doesn't know as much as we do start to do it, all we then have is criticism, or sometimes on the good side, a critique, where you can tell somebody, oh, you could have done it better, you should have done it better. But in real sense, we have not actually practiced anything. And I will paint a very common scenario of the things that we all do around there or this part of the world. Have you made some money and then maybe your friends or the elderly ones around, they know what you were supposed to do with the money? Now I want us to give our input here. Maybe some people see that you are making 500k a month, or some way you did something and one big money just entered, and then they are like, now you're supposed to buy land, now you're supposed to build a house, or now you should save it, don't buy a car. Just, has anybody come across people like that? Looks like I'm alone here.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah, and you're like, seriously, you don't look like if you are really related with money the way we are together looking at it, and you know this much as you know, sincerely speaking, something should be better in your life than it is presently. And that's not to discard their wisdom or to despise it, but to say that we also should not get into that position where we are not the one who knows what the person who made the money, where we are the one who knows what the person who made the money should do with the money, while we ourselves are not making the money. And that's not just that. Have you seen people who see you that you are good at something, and then they know what you should do with that talent, but they themselves, they don't seem to have their own talent? And you're like, sir, if you're observing your own life, these are the talent that are wasting. So these are the kind of people that have increased in knowledge. And this is one thing that exposure can do to you. If you have been reading books, and I think sometimes I've been guilty of this too. If you've been reading books, you have been watching some documentaries, you have been seeing some stuff, you'll be like, these are the things that everybody should do. In fact, for every new project, any new adventure, everything that somebody is doing. You have an idea of what the person should be doing, how the person should have done it better, and different other stuff like that. But when you look at it in real sense, I mean, if you have self-awareness and you look at yourself, wait, there are a lot of things in my life that I could have been doing better also. So this is the tale of those who only increase in knowledge but never increase in action. That's why many people can tell you, since you have a crypto community, this is how you should run it. Since you have a car, this is the business you should be doing with it. It should be an asset, not a liability. Since you live in a house, maybe one part of it should be an office, one part of it should be this. Since you have a laptop, you should be applying for jobs, you should learn this skill, you should do that. Those advice, they are good. Those opinions, they make sense. But I don't want any of us to get to that point where all we are able to show people or tell people or even show the generations to come, the people behind us, those who see us as mentors, is opinion. Well, all we have to do is, you could have done it this way or you should do it this way. And then we look at our life, or those people also look at our life, and they don't wish to be like us for any reason. Right? So my call this morning is to make sure I get us on a more intentional level, where we become conscious, cautious, and intentional of what our life is becoming, so that we don't just have stories to tell without any result or evidence to back it up. Because if you tell people that when I was doing crypto or when I was doing this business, there was a time that every day I make so amount, and they look at your life, sincerely there is nothing to show for it. And you can tell people, in a year I read 552 books every year, but still, apart from you talking, there's nothing anybody can show to be a result of the books you say you are reading. To say you have big ambition, you have nothing to show for it. And I don't want us to be in that position. And that's why I refuse to assume that we all know what to do and then we are doing it. Because I'm also guilty. And I'm not saying this just because I'm guilty alone, but because it can also be an error that is easy to neglect, especially when you're in a certain environment. You just be like, okay, I'm still very much okay with everybody around. I mean, we are doing fine. He has a car, he has his own house, I have my own house. What else? I mean, everybody's cool, my family is fine, his family is fine. Nobody is really oppressing anybody based on the fact that everybody seems to be on the same level. But when you look critically and you examine your life and you consider the knowledge base that you have, how much you have been exposed to, how much books you have read, how much TED Talk you have seen, how much documentary you have seen, how much places you have been to, the kind of friends you have, the evidence of your life presently, does it justify the knowledge base that you have? If it does not, it then only say one thing: that you have to do more than you talk. You have to do more than you talk. Do it again and again. Try it again and again. Push it the way you have to push it. If you read this book, 48 Laws of Power, there's a part of it that says it is good to learn from, that the best way to learn is to learn from others, and the saying that the best teacher is experience, that particular saying, it only takes a foolish person to learn from experience. While in the context of what the book was saying at the moment, that is correct, but it is not entirely correct or generally correct, because sincerely speaking, there are things that cannot be written down for you, there are things that cannot be videoed for you, there are things that cannot be explained to you. You get them, you understand them by the reason of engagement. And so my charge to us this morning is to do more than we talk, do more than we accumulate knowledge, do more than we just talk about. If we do that successfully, I believe we will have more results than we have stories to tell. And I say that to mean that we are going to have more actions, more results than excuse in real sense. So that you don't just say, I read so number of books, but you have read so number of books, you couldn't write any books. You've read a lot about finances, but you don't even have a means to afford your daily meals. You have learned a particular skill. You are not earning from that skill. You cannot teach people that skill, and you cannot even do any business or work with that skill. Either you volunteer, either you get employed, either you engage it in one way or the other. Apart from the fact that you can say that this is the skill or the knowledge that I have. I want us to live a little, in fact, way above that. I want us to come to that place or that point of giving expression to the knowledge we have accumulated over the years. Because one error that is common to us when we have so much knowledge is everything is correct theoretically. Everything we know is correct theoretically until you begin to try them out in the physical, and that's when you know that no, it's not exactly like that. If you have done let's say technical analysis, for instance, you see that there are times that you just at a glance you look at the chart and you're like, oh, we buy here, it go here, then we take profit and we go. And until you now want to open trade and you open a more detailed chart, that's when you now see that, wait, there is something missing here. In fact, sometimes until you open that trade, you now discover that all the value areas that you have marked out, they become irrelevant and you are in your trade already. So if you don't engage in such things, you discover that you don't really know what measure to put in place against next time you see something like that. But when you get burned based on what you preconceived, next time you know how to do better. And the people in graphic world will be able to testify to this. And I want to talk the way it used to appear to me, right? Have you seen a design that you feel like you just put this color here, you put this image here, and everything is fine? And then until you carry your laptop and open your app and you start the design and you put it the way you imagine in your head, and it's not coming out the way you expect it to come out. So those kind of a thing, they are the way it works in life. So most of the things that we know theoretically, they don't exactly apply like that practically, and that's why it's important that we do. And the reason I gave a scenario of design is because I've related with designers over time. I have a perfect picture in my mind. but I cannot put it together. Not, in fact, sometimes not because I don't know where the color is or how to drag certain things and put in place, but to blend it the way I want, to even understand the concepts that leads me to achieve what I have in mind, I cannot do. And sometimes when I'm explaining to people who design for me, they go back and forth, and before they even arrive at that point, it has become a load of work. Some of them come back and they try all these things, and I discover that I'm not just the one who has it in mind the way it should come out. Many times they also have it in mind the way it should come out, perfect picture, and they try before they achieve it. And you are wondering, but you say you are an expert, why is it taking you this long? That's just what realities always bring about. When you get practical with anything at all that you want to do, it always come out different. And that's why we cannot just stick to knowledge base alone. It's important that we get involved practically. Do you learn to cut something? Practice it. Volunteer to do it. Do you learn to paint? Paint for free, even if you are not getting paid. And that way, only a matter of time before you begin to develop certain skills, certain things that are not there in your theoretical knowledge, that you will only learn as you get involved practically. So, I want to encourage us to get involved practically those things that we have learned. If you have learned how to save money, engage it practically. Because certain things are easier said than done. I can tell you 10 steps to become a millionaire, right? But when you look at me, you will want to ask, guy, if you truly know this thing the way you have said it, certain things should be in your possession right now. So I don't just want us to come to that point where we only hype ourselves based on knowledge. I want us to have evidence to show for it, result to show for it. But those results and evidence will not come until it is practically engaged. And lastly, talking about life in general, have you noticed that if you imagine today that you own a conglomerate, say a multinational business, or you have plenty fast cars, or you are the president of the United States, do you know that even as you imagine it, there's no restriction of any form? You can imagine yourself to be the president of Nigeria now, and you can imagine yourself in Aso Rock. You can imagine yourself making the decisions, doing all of those things that affect Nigeria, and there seems to be no obstacle. Have you ever wondered why? It's because when it comes to your senses, it's only put you in the picture and not other conditions and situations that are involved. And so it's easier for you to say, I'm the biggest designer in the whole world. And then you see yourself, and you see all the big brands coming to you that you should be the one to design their logo, to design everything for them and stuff like that. And by the time you know what's going on, you are everywhere. But when you try practically, for somebody to even pay you 10,000 naira for logo, it's problem. So that only proves the fact that in our thought and imagination, in our theoretical thinking or knowledge, there is almost no restriction. Everything is possible, everything is doable. But when you get to engage it practically, this time forces are against you, forces are in support of you, people are against you, people are in support of you, finances are against you, finances are in support of you, situations are against you, situations are in support of you, people that want to make their own profit on their own, people who just want to do things on their own, people who like you, people who hate you, all of those things will come to play. And then you are left to still decide if you want to fail or succeed. And this is exactly why it's important to get involved practically. So, if you don't get involved practically, you will only think that everything you know as you know it is correct. But until you start engaging. I don't know why I'm using graphics design today, but imagine that after you have learned your graphic design, you say, okay, I'm this good. And then you want to engage practically. That's when you discover the laptop you bought is not enough. Cannot carry the programs you need to run a good design. And then that's when you know that there are certain platforms you have to pay them before you can use certain features. And that's when you know that you need constant electricity for you to be able to deliver at any point in time. And that's why you discover that you need internet to access certain things. And that's why you begin to know that, you need extra storage for you to store certain things. All of those things begin to work in place. But the first time you learned the graphic design and you have the knowledge, all of those things didn't occur to you. You just think, now I'm good, let's go and make this money. But as you begin to engage, you begin to learn those things that are required, and then you begin to overcome those obstacles one after the other. But until you are practically engaged, you don't even know what obstacles are in place for you to overcome. So I'm saying to us this morning, let's go again. Check all of those knowledge we have, and every part of it that we can channel towards our becoming great. Let's begin to channel it. Begin to take those steps, no matter how small it can be. Let's begin to take them one after the other. Begin to approach things. Begin to do them, irrespective of how difficult or how easy they turn out to be. It's more important that we get engaged practically. I hope that makes sense to somebody.